Now is the time. A time you'll look back on. A time you adopt as inspiration. You will recollect this time. This moment, right now. Motivate yourself towards success. Overcome. Take over. The time is now.
You starting then?
That could have been a general mix-up of everybody.
No, I've got to be honest. Mine was slightly delayed, so I didn't see the end of the intro.
I was written on Richie. I was like, okay, this looks professional. Someone speak.
No, not at all. Well, evening, everyone. We're back again. It feels like we've been back every night this week, but we are back for a new, different kind of show. And we talked a little bit about it last night when promoting it. And it is called United, and United for a reason. And actually, quite early on in Loaded Mag NUFC's journey, we talked about, not just the five of us talking NUFC, but obviously sharing that experience with other YouTubers and other accounts and other Newcastle United like-minded supporters. So it is an absolute pleasure to have both Lee from Newcastle Fans TV. And also we have Alex Hurst from True Faith Podcast. So welcome, boys. Welcome to United.
Cheers, lads.
Thanks for having us.
No, it is an absolute pleasure to have you. And look, we'll get straight into it in terms of, it's been a bit of a whirlwind, probably since we last spoke and since both of you have really kind of last been on Loaded Mag NUFC. In that, obviously, the takeovers come about. I think the last time we spoke, we were either in Lee's case, we're in an awful preseason process, a real dog awful, literally. If you look at Lee's screen, preseason process, but also from Alex's point of view, we were in the midst of a relegation battle, and it looked like we were, heading one way. It's all changed. New owners, new perspective, new manager, and in some cases, a number of new players. Now, what is your assessment on not necessarily the season, because I think we've probably all talked about that, but what is your assessment on where the club is right now in terms of what the owners have done and where we're at as a football club? How would you assess that so far? Lee, we'll start with you.
I think whoever comes in after Mike Ashley is only going to be one way up anyways, because there's so many small things that you can change that wins the fans on board straight away, like simple stuff like changing the Shearer statue, renaming his bar, win-win. There's loads of stuff, painting the stadium. I mean, who would celebrate painting the stadium? We've only just seen it this week, inside the ground as well, that the new deco is going up as well. So there's plenty, and obviously on the pitch, of course, with the money being spent. We always knew that Manor Stevie's ambition was to come in and spend the money, but also you mentioned United, and that's what we are now as a fan base. There's a lot of fan base used to clash, in particular on social media, but you can say it's all coming to one. We all want one aim, is to see our club climb that table and start to compete. I don't know how old everybody is, but, remember the nights in Europe under Bobby and going even before that, Kevin Keegan. I mean, I was 95, 96 was my first ever season, and I was like, as a kid, I was like, bloody hell, this is great being a Newcastle fan, and on my doorstep, and obviously we've had absolute turmoil, but at the minute, I always used to use the word hope. It's the hope. Once we get rid of Mike Ashley, but now it's just a good feel factor about not just on the pitch, off the pitch, and we're waiting for this moment, and we've suffered for 12, 13 years, and it's fantastic to see, and it's great to be linked to big names. It's brilliant.
Definitely, Alex. What's your assessment of things so far with the new ownership and the club in general?
I don't think it's an exaggeration, Pete, to say that Newcastle United are are the best placed club in the Premier League currently in terms of, satisfaction of the fan base, performance of the manager, performance of the owners, performance of the set of players. Like, is there another club apart from maybe Manchester City where you could look and think every single part of the football club is working really, really well? And that's quite a special place to be. It's quite an unusual place to be. And I, and some fans, but particularly me, I need to move on from before, because I see the lads doing go-karting, and the first thing I think of was, oh, could you imagine if they did this time last year, how angry everyone would be. Like, typical Brucey's got them go-karting rather than sprinting up and down mountains or whatever fans think we should do. So no, it's in a great place, Pete. And I think these foundations that they're building at the minute, there's work being done on the academy, work being done on the training ground, like Lee said, work being done on the stadium. These are for the long-term good of the football club, and I really, really like that. And what's great to see as well, some people in the past may have accused the owners of doing stuff for PR. It's a PR stunt. They don't really want to do it. It's a PR stunt. Well, all of the things they're doing and the continued improvements they're making to the football club are just kind of being done. There's no fanfare about them. It's just kind of, we're here, we're going to continue to improve in all areas, and we're going to make Newcastle United the best club we can be. So absolutely buzzing, mate, as you can tell.
Yeah, too right. And I think it's fair to say that we're all feeling that way at the moment. But you've touched on one or two bits there in terms of what's next. You've mentioned the training ground, Alex. You've mentioned one or two other things that are maybe in the pipeline. But transfers and players coming in. I'm sure we'll get to talk about that as the show's coming on. But I'll open this up to everybody really. From your perspective, and I've been thinking about this today a little bit. I'm thinking about what's next? What's the next big thing that needs to happen at this football club to really give us, and obviously I'm talking about transfers aside, that really gives us that feel that we are 100% going in the right direction. My first thought previously was Dan Ashworth coming in. I thought that was huge in terms of how that's going to be. He's going to be the pillar of the club in terms of how it takes forward from that point of view. But what is next? And look, I'm not going to point anyone out individually. Anyone wants to come in with that, with their opinions of what you think is next.
I'll jump in. I think for me, it's seeing the simple stuff that we haven't had for 14 years, Pete. So we chatted last night about the improvements in the ground, a splash of paint, the roof being cleaned, the windows being cleaned. And I know a lot of other fans, when the Sports Direct signs went and the windows got washed, a lot of other fans on Twitter, other clubs were taking the piss out of us, going, "Oh, you're happy, richest club in the world, and you're washing your windows." But to us, that meant a lot because, every second week we turn up in a stadium. For those, as you guys know, I don't live local, neither does Daz, so we don't get over as often. But when you do go, that's your home, that's your stadium. So to see the simple things happening in the improvement around the club, the improvement in the paint, bigger tellies back on the walls, instead of the ones that were taken a few years back and the bolt holes were still in the walls from where the 60-inch ones were and stuff like that. So I think it's all the little things that have added to that on top of the neglect of the team. It's all the other stuff that has. I know you're trying to throw me off with the pictures here because there was a player up first and I wasn't sure if I was going elsewhere. So I think it's all the little things. Obviously, the redevelopment of the training ground, the investment, Dan Ashworth coming on board, people working within the club being paid a decent wage, being paid above the minimum wage and being paid what they're worth. So for me, it's all those simple things that make you look at it and go, we've definitely got owners that care and want to improve it in all aspects, not just the team. So for me, it's all those little things. And Daz is the lucky one. He's getting over from Ireland for the Forest game, and I will get over at some point. I'm looking forward to coming back home and seeing everything and just walking back in and going, wow, it's great to be part of. So I think Alex is right. Isn't it a great position to be in?
Definitely. And that's, one thing's for sure, we are obviously investing into the club, but not investing the sort of wages that Jesse Lingard will be demanding. That's for sure.
No.
But yeah, just to come back to that, lads, any other thoughts? You've Martin said about the little things. The little things are kind of meaning more right now. Is there anything specific for you guys that you think actually, this is what I want to see in order to ensure that we're going in the right direction?
I mean, sorry, go on, Lee. Go on, mate.
Yeah, I think for me, because I'm a big advocate of women's football and youth football, I've said it before when you lads invited me on. It's great that now, because obviously the foundation had the women's team, and now the club are going to take over and they're going to be paid. So I think big things are expected. And obviously you've seen the attendance when they were pushing for the women's game, which is the highest attendance across all of domestic football, which is incredible, for over 22,000 coming into St James's. So that's for me. That's, you mentioned the small things, but that filters all the way down. And if you look at now, I know we haven't had many from the youth academy who've gone on to play regular first team football on a yearly basis. I would like to see, the facilities improved, and of course they will do. You've seen it this summer that, yes, it's going to be a long-term thing, but short-term, they're trying to poach players from the likes of Scotland and England as well to come into the under-23s to make that a little bit more competitive and try and get promotion. So for me, that's part of the area that doesn't get talked about much as a fan base, but I think it's something that I feel passionate about, and that's where the owners haven't forgotten about that as well. And they're thinking the whole of the club, not just let's go and splash crazy money on Moussa Diaby, for example. They're thinking of the smaller things as well.
Yeah.
Chris, you were going to say something?
Yeah, do you know what? It was just to kind of follow on from what Martin said, and we could probably do a 3 or 4 hour show, couldn't we? Based on all the things that the owners have done right, why we should all be excited, what we've got to look forward to. But I suppose the thing for me, and it might sound like a bit of a cop out, but the thing for me is I'm looking forward to seeing the performances on the pitch. I mean, we all know what happened at the start of last season, and we basically, as people have rightly said, we gave the rest of the league a 14-game head start, and I think it's exciting knowing how prepared we are. We've heard Callum Wilson talk about on a podcast with Michael Antonio about how unfit the squad were. We know that's not the case this season, and I think for me, all those little things are absolutely right what everybody said, but it kind of, the performances on the pitch, I think as soon as we get a bit of a on the crest of a wave, there's no stopping us. And I think if we make a strong start to the season and we bring in those couple of extra players that we're after, we can go anywhere. And I think that's the exciting thing. Fans have been talking about where can we finish, what can we do this season. And really, it's like the impossible question, because all those little things that mean so much to us, like we've all been talking about, like the statue being moved, the windows, the, upgrading the facilities within the stadium, they're all little minor things. And PIF and the Rubens and PCP, they must have been rubbing their hands together when they knew that this deal was going to go through, because it literally is the perfect club to take over. You're looking at some of the, the other deals, look how much Chelsea were bought for, and you think, they've picked us up for a fraction of the price. They've got a whole city now behind the club. There's no negatives whatsoever. And if we can make that strong start to the season, which we all believe that we're going to, we're only going to go in one direction. And I think it's going to be like a snowball effect, and it's just going to have a positive outcome for everything. And it's just really exciting, and I'm really I can't remember the last time I looked forward to a season so much. In fact, I don't think I ever have looked forward to a season so much, and it's great, and it's nice that we all have smiles on our faces, because normally, when we were doing the shows a year ago, if you look, we were laughing and joking, but we were making the best of a bad situation, whereas now it's just all positive. Everything we talk about is positive, and it's just so refreshing.
Positive vibes, that's for sure. Richie, anything in particular that you are looking at really is the next step in order to see that progression for the club?
I think everyone's ticked a little box that they'd like to see going forward. I think, one of the major things which we've been behind for so many years, which we've seen a little bit getting developed on this year, is the training ground. I know Lee touched on it briefly before. Obviously, for the academy coming, they're having better facilities, even just the first team as well. There's rumours going on. There's a lot of talk going on that they're looking at land for the new training ground going forward. I think that to me could be another tick in the box and showing how far we've come in this short space of time. that we are starting to go to the next level. And I said it's one of many things that have happened so far in 9 months. That literally nothing happened in the previous 14 years. So every little thing that we've mentioned is huge progression. So it's not like he's starting to try and look for needle in haystacks now because we've done so much in that short space of time.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a very valid point. And like you said, I think all of those little tick boxes that we've put across actually comes together to create something. Like you said, something absolutely massive going into next season. Alex, I'm not sure because you came off. I'm not sure if you got a chance to put your opinion across. So the question was what do you think is what would you like to be that next big change? Transfers aside, what would you like to be that next big change in the club to for us to know that progression is taking place?
Yeah, I think who is going to run the club is quite important. Amanda and Murdad doing an absolutely unbelievable job, a job that so many in the media said they were simply incapable of doing. So it's not like it needs to happen for the club to progress because the club is progressing. However, a lot of the same structure within the structure within the club in terms of staff and department seems from the outside looking in to be similar. Whilst everything is really positive, a lot of fan frustrations with the box office. I understand why they haven't changed yet because there are bigger things to sort out within the football club and particularly on the pitch. I think it would be really interesting to see who the new MD/CEO is going to be, Lee Charnley's replacement, who is going to run St James's Park day to day, and what impact are they going to have on the club. Now, the fact that it's taken so long to get someone suggests to me that they are doing, as they did with Ashworth, waiting for someone to serve notice somewhere else. And that's a good thing because it means whoever we're getting was doing a good job elsewhere. And it's not just your manager and your players you want to be taken from other clubs. You want to take the best of every department from other clubs. So that's a big one for me, Peter. I'm really interested to see who they bring in so we can have a look at their record, what they've achieved elsewhere, and maybe what we can expect moving forward.
No, fantastic. Some great points all round, all very valid, and all things that we'll definitely see as making that progression into next season. Now, Chris, I think you might have touched on it. Actually, you touched on performances on the pitch. It is something that you'd like to see. Now, the lads for the last couple of weeks have been back on the pitch. Preseason training is in full effect. Currently in Austria, training. Lots of images going around of the boys in preseason training. Hopefully Lingard won't pop up this time. But yeah, I'm about a second delayed. But yeah, here we go. Alice at Maximin, Joe Willett. The boys are in training, working hard. And, it's great to see one or two of those new players been integrated into the team. The likes of Callum Wilson getting a full preseason. He was a little bit unfit last season, which he's talked about, which has affected the start of his season. Kieran Trippier's back in, fully fit, and also everyone saw it on NUFC TV, the old go-karting, which we talked about last night. And I tweeted out and said, even though Ryan Fraser's on the highest rock as number one, he still isn't the tallest out of the three, which I thought was hilarious. But just goes to show. But they're all happy. They're all enjoying. Preseason training is well underway. Now, look, Lee, I'll come to you first. And that, we shared a number of preseason friendlies last season. We went to, a couple and we bumped into each other. How different does this preseason look already in comparison to what we already experienced last season?
Well, the calibre of opposition is the first one straight away you've got to look at. We're not playing Burton, we're not playing Rotherham, we're not going to Doncaster. We're actually going abroad and we're playing at the proper stadium lights abroad in Benfica and Lisbon. And then obviously just now you've got the two friendlies and then you've got the two big, you think about these two sides that we've got to St James's Park, Bilbao, a very, very successful, they sign a lot of players from the Basque region. And then you've got Atlanta, you've got to remember they score goals for fun, Champions League team. So it's a better higher caliber of opposition, and they're going away as well. If you look at the trips that they're out now, it's abroad, and then obviously I would imagine they'll spend a few days in Portugal as well for the friendly. So it's a good opposition to see where Newcastle are at. But look, I think most importantly, it's to try and get minutes on the pitch, get up to speed. New signings, in particular Nick Pope and Sven Botman, especially Botman, I feel needs to not so much learn the language because he speaks good English anyway, but just learn his teammates, learn the culture of English football. I think Nick Pope will be fine. And if there is any new signings in the next week or two, try and get them in, get them out on broad. Even if they don't play, get them onto the squad and see how they get on and just get them to bond.
Yeah, I think you made a really, really good point. You talked about obviously one or two of those players coming in. Alex, I'll come to you. From this perspective, Lee's talked about some of the players coming in and obviously the caliber of opposition. How influential and how important is Eddie Howe being there and having a preseason? We've all seen the video of what he did at Bournemouth, the way he was mic'd up, and we saw the quality of preseason training he did a number of years ago. How crucial do you think Eddie Howe will be to how successful this preseason is?
Don't think there's a more important person, is there, Pete? Because every single Newcastle United player pretty much last season got better under Eddie Howe and got better very quickly under Eddie Howe. So the fact that he's got now the most important part of the season in terms of training to spend with these players could only bode well. And when fans talk about what Newcastle United can do next season, and there's a lot of emphasis placed on transfers, which is quite right for a number of reasons. We might get into it in the show later on. I think people look past sometimes just the impact that Howe has on footballers. So I'd expect Sven Botman to improve as a footballer just in pre-season because he's working under Howe and Tyndall. I'd expect Nick Pope to become a better goalkeeper. Howe didn't have a lot of training time with Trippier and Wilson last season. I'd expect both of those players to improve under Howe. So it's a great point you make, Pete. He's absolutely essential. And I think you can tell on the training videos, which you all watch, which the club has released, how much the players seem to enjoy working under him, how much they seem to enjoy training sessions. It's a far cry from the kind of things we used to see.
Definitely. I think
sorry, Pete. I think just to jump in there, just to follow up on Alex's piece, I think the other good thing that I've really enjoyed is the content that's been put out by the club. Like seeing the preseason stuff, like I've really enjoyed, and I know you used to get it when Barcelona used to sign a player on Madrid. You used to always get the bit of videos about the medical, the thumbs up while they sat on the bench with the heart monitors on and everything else. And I've really enjoyed seeing the inside of the workings of what happens when we get a player. We all know it happens, but it's great to physically see it. And I think, when you see, the go-karting, and you're listening to the banter, they were all taking the mick out of Joe Linton for the way he was coming around the corners and he was giving it back as good as he was getting it. I think you can really get a sense of the team spirit. And I think, the folks that are running the media, obviously in conjunction with the club, from Newcastle TV and all the other ones, right down to the Twitter account, even Instagram, it's been absolutely brilliant since the club has changed hands. And I think it's a real credit to what's going out there. That again, in particular for an overseas fan, it really, really helps draw you back in and makes you feel part of that whole journey.
No, I agree. And like you said, for those overseas fans, seeing that little bit of content, it kind of, I imagine, Martin, it kind of makes your day. When you see that little that thing pop up that Newcastle have just put another bit of content out, it does make your day. I don't know what you guys feel when I see those videos pop up. I'm literally watching those videos with a smile on my face. Like they might be just kind of. There was a video the other day where they were just riding their bikes down the hill to training and parking up, and I could feel a big smile on my face, and they're just riding the bike. But it's just additional content to see what the life is like of a Newcastle United player now under a proper ownership, under proper management and coaching. And you know what? Martin alluded to it. They all just seem happy. They all just seem really happy, like at the club. But look,
Pete,
Chris,
I was just going to say, mate, just to add into what you've just said, and you know what, it's yet another positive, to talk about. I think one thing that we lacked over the last 14 years under Mike Ashley, which I'm sure we'll all agree, is we, as a fan base, we were never listened to. And you know, when you were putting those pictures up, I was smiling after the Jesse Lingard picture. I was smiling because, you know, when we saw the picture of the lads with the apple, and you know they were all on the bike, and it reminded you of the shoulder picture. And again, it's little details, little things like that. Now, the media team, whether it be the owners, whoever it is, have obviously heard fans saying, "Oh, you know, they should have recreated the shoulder picture and stuff like that." And then next day, bang, there it is. And it's those little minor details that make all the difference. And that's how you get, you know, you bring a fan base together, and you bring a club together to all march forward together. And under Mike Ashley, we've not had that. And now, you know, we saw years ago, didn't we, when Leicester lifted the Premier League, and we saw, you know, the way the owner come on the pitch and the players were all embracing him and everything. And obviously Leicester have had their own difficulties, you know, in terms of the tragedy that happens, but it brings the whole club together. And it's things like that which give us the, you know, the positive going forward. And it's that's what gets us all excited as fans. You know, we've lacked that for so long now, and now, you know, we're a happy club. Alex referred to it before. You know, you look at the Premier League, and you know, if you were trying to entice a player, if you look at the 20 clubs and you said to a random player, you know, which club would you like to join, and you got a bit of background on all of them, I reckon we'd be in the top 3 every time for the player to choose, because we're on our way up. And you know, you look at clubs like Arsenal, you look at clubs like Man United, and they're in a bit of a difficult place at the moment. They're on a bit of a rebuild, but we're building. But we've started from the bottom, and now we're only going to go up, and we've only got really good things to look forward to.
No, I can't do anything but agree. It's definitely positive vibes in the room tonight.
Funny thing with that picture though of the 3 on the bike, was it just me, or was it just Miggy that actually looks like he's the only one that fitted the bike?
Yeah.
Like he's the only one you'd look at that picture and go, yeah, he's totally all right with it. The other 2 are kind of like a little slight speed wobble. Miggy's like, yeah, I'm perfect. I'm only about 4'3", and I was riding one last week, just like thoroughly into it.
Joe's looking like he's about to fall off it.
I know.
Big
Yeah,
Joe,
the other 2 boys are. Yeah, it's great though. It's great to see. Great picture.
It is. I've got to admit, I love this one as well. Look, you just see Ryan. Look. I'm going out of line, but Ryan Fraser, like we talked about him this time last year, even a couple of years ago, and there was talk that he wasn't happy, that he was one of the moles in the camp and all the rest of it. Look at that. Look at his face. He just looks so happy, bless him. And actually, his performance at the back end of the season kind of, you know, it illustrated the fact that, you know, he is happy and he's really enjoying his football right now. I mean, it's just stuff like that makes me feel like, you know, just brings that smile to your face. But Richard, I think it was Lee that referred to 1 or 2 of the new players coming in early. You know, how important is it that you know, those boys bed in? You know, the likes of Matty Target's already been here, but Nick Pope, you know, potentially is the number 1. Sven Botman. Let's talk about who he's going to be partnering with. How crucial is it those guys getting a preseason? Because we haven't had this before.
It's really important, and the fact that, you know, we looked at the Saudi trip as quite a pivotal moment in, you know, the January window as well. You know, we had a fantastic result against Leeds, and we took that momentum into that training camp, and we saw the positive vibes around that trip. And then, you know, the amount of what we're seeing at the moment, togetherness, pictures and comments and stuff like that, and bringing out, yes, okay, Matty Target's already been around the squad, so we'll know the lads. You know, Nick Pope will be made to feel welcome by some of his England colleagues. I know, obviously, Chris Wood from, you know, he's moved from Burnley 6 months ago as well. So there's this face of the capitano might be a little bit more difficult for Sven Botman, but, you know, he seems to be a professional lad, international, so he'll be looking at other international colleagues in the squad, you know, like your Trippier, your Callum Wilsons, Ryan Frasers. You know, he's been in a lot of photographs with Emil Kraft as well, and we've seen some of the videos and stuff like. So he's obviously must have a connection with him there as well somehow. Obviously, they both played in Ligue 1 as well, didn't they? So they might know each other from then. But yeah, it's really, really important. But I think the actually getting out of Newcastle and, you know, being in a hotel and doing all the stuff they're doing now helps create chemistry. within the camp, especially there's rumours about Pope coming to overtake Dubravka. Now Dubravka's going to want to prove that he's still the number one, and he'll be professional enough to take the challenge on. Nobody wants to be guaranteed a shirt. They want to earn that shirt and keep it by right. Like when we've had Darwin before, we always thought he was a good understudy, but we always knew that extra quality. When Dubravka came back in, at the end of the day, he's an international goalkeeper. Now we've got two international goalkeepers, one in England and one in Slovak international, both vying for that number one place. So it's going to be really, really hard. To be fair, if any of them ever get injured, I don't think any of us would probably be bothered that you've got an extra caliber goalkeeper to come in as well. But obviously that's not for us to turn around and worry about. It's for Eddie Howe to make sure that they're both still happy. You'll guarantee that you'll see some in the cup games as well, so that you won't want to have the first choice keeper in all the time. We're going to have a fantastic backup, but that's for Eddie Howe to worry about and keep them happy. But he seems to be doing a good job at the minute. But hopefully that continues when the season starts and they get on the pitch together.
Definitely. And look, just before we get to some questions, Lee, Alex, we'll come to you because as loaded as we've already had the conversation about the Dubravka Pope situation. Actually, one thing I've noticed is that every time a video or a picture of Dubravka, he looks properly fully focused. No smile on his face. He looks like he's properly determined to perform well in every training session. Even like there was a little clip where I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was a little clip of the goalkeepers, and the ball gets passed into Pope, and Pope's touch isn't the best, and he kind of reworks it, plays the ball out, it gets played to Dubravka. His touch is immaculate touch, perfect pass out, and he's just like so focused. And I just think, you know what, he's going to be bang up for it this season to really, really prove himself. But just a quick one for you guys, really. Lee, I'll come to you first. First game of the season, Nottingham Forest at home. Who starts as number one in your opinion?
Nick Pope.
Any reason why?
Why would you spend 10 million on a goalkeeper to sit on the bench? First of all, yes, competition. I get what you're saying there, Pete, but he's an England international. I think he shades Dubravka marginally. I think Dubravka has got a bit of a mistake in him. Granted, the defence in front of him for the last 5 to 6 months towards the second half of the season, but I think when Dubravka is tested, he's prone to do a mistake. I think when Pope is tested, he makes less of them. And that's why I think Eddie Howe will go with Pope until either Pope messes up or the cup game comes around, like the second round of the Carling Cup. It's not called that. The Carabao Cup. It gets changed every year. But I think it will be Nick Pope.
Okay. Alex? Who do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree with Lee. Lee, your reasons are spot on. I can't add too much to them, so I'll not. But what I will say, part of me absolutely loves that we went to Burnley on the last day, sent them down, and according to journalists who know Burnley, saved ourselves 15 million quid on Nick Pope. I love the fact that we went there and we won that game, and then we've reaped the rewards of like turning up, putting in a good performance. And that's what happens when you're a good, serious football team that turns up on the day and got the 3 points, and Burnley went down. And the fact that, journalists say that Nick Pope, Burnley's minimum valuation as a Premier League club was £25 million. So we've got to have a look at him. We've got to have a look at him. If he is a £25 million goalkeeper, and these are guys who watch Burnley, who know Burnley, he is better than Martin Dubravka if that was his value. So I think for that reason alone, I'm fully behind Nick Pope.
Great points.
I think the interesting thing that's why I texted you earlier on, Pete, about the tweet that went out from the Charlton owner that was interesting to say that Burnley didn't get the full 10 million. Charlton got a nice hefty sell-on fee from that, so it will be interesting how much of that was the sell-on fee. They actually got that 10 million, so it's even a worse situation for Burnley when you think about it.
Definitely, and we have, as Alex said, we've definitely reaped the rewards there. But look, Jason Scott says it's a valid point. Pope with our defence should be amazing. Our defence last season has already been documented was very good. We've added Sven Botman to that. It's likely we're going to go into that season really, really strong. And like Martin said last night, it was a really good point. We're not going to give any other team a 14-game head start this season. We're not. And you know what? We might not even need to produce Champions League level form this season, as long as we're consistent across the full season, it would be enough. We got 48, 49 points at the end of the season, having had 14 less games to really turn up and do the business. You know, we were a two or three game run away from potentially knocking on the door for Europe. That's how good we were. So, you know, it's out there. It's very, very interesting. We've got 330 in the live chat, which is fantastic. If you haven't clicked that like button, that thumbs up button, give that a click. It means a lot to the channel by you doing that. Lots and lots of questions in the chat already, Richie. I think we've got a few for Liam. Sorry, not Liam. What am I on about? For Lee and Alex. My name's all over the place.
All right, Dave.
Yeah.
Touche.
So you'll actually get away with that, Lee, so that's fine.
I have got. There's a couple of little thank yous I want to do first. Jason Scott has joined tonight as a new member, so thank you very much for becoming a member, Jason. Much appreciated. Also, there was a comment that was mentioned up. Was from Taylor Sam, who wanted to know how to become a loaded member. There should be if you look on the chat, if you're on your mobile phone or your PC, a section where it says to subscribe, and there's also a section next to it where you can become a member and donate that way. And a couple of little thank yous as well from Drew Knox for his £5 donation as well, buzzing for the start of the coming season. Thank you very much, Drew. Always appreciate it. And also from Geordie Mick as well. Saying fantastic guests as always. Looking forward to Lee's vlogs and on his away days travels next season as well. Geordie Mick, congratulations on your promotion. He did mention you've been promoted to manager as well in the chat as well, so congratulations with that. Also, some love for Alex and the True Faith gang with Dark by Design. Love Alex when he does the show with Charlie. Are so funny as well. Adam McCarthy giving us some love as well. Said he can't wait for 3 weeks' time in the away days returning. And the rest of the league is feeling it. So that's some nice mutual love from the members in the chat with regards to everyone on the panel tonight as well. But so I just thought I'd go through all of that first. But first question straight away, and I'll put this one to Lee. I know that a lot of the lads' thoughts on this, so I'll go with this one first. So Lee, right lads, are we skint or what? And also to back up on that, Jason Scott also says, does anyone think the owners are balking at attacking talent over 40 million?
I would say we are definitely not skint. We are not the richest club in the world. We have the richest owners in the world. I think that's where a lot of confusion comes in. Eddie Howe did say towards the end of the season that he has got a balanced PIF to come in. Not PIF, sorry, the financial fair play to come in. I do believe some aspect of that. I think he's playing it down a little bit though, because I think there is money there, but it will eventually catch up if Newcastle keeps spending, especially. One thing I did miss off earlier is, like you say, the commercial side. And we've got Funny here for another 12 months. We all thought, most of the fan base thought that was gone. We have a new sponsor come in, so I think more money to come in for the commercial side, I'd like to say. But we're definitely not skint. I think it will be money spent further this season, but I don't think it's going to be like 300 million or no daft like that.
No bother. I'll get this one to Alex. It's from JJ, and he's mentioned that there's negotiations apparently going on with the city council to build a new ground 200 meters west, as per Spurs, and part exchange the ground for new parkland that will show off Leeds' territory and manage the park. Win-win. Have you heard much on this at all, there, Alex?
No, nothing. I have to profess I don't know loads about how you'd be able to do that in terms of moving the kind of knocking down your existing ground and build another one to start with. You'd have to play somewhere else. So sorry, JJ, I'm not your man for this one.
Anyone else happen to know anything on it while we're on that topic or not?
I think it's a lot of rubbish.
No bother. I'll open this one to both the guests tonight on this one. Jano's put in the chat, striker, holding midfielder, and a wide right forward. I'm sure these are the positions that the club are looking at. Would you agree with those things, or do you think there's anybody else that could be looking at?
I think a striker and a winger's got to be the next two.
Yeah, I agree with Lee completely. I think, to get into the top six of the Premier League, you have to score about 60 goals. Man United did it with 57 last season, but generally teams score between 60 and 65 just to get sixth place in the Premier League. Last season, we scored 44. And even in the second half of the season that Pete was alluding to with the great form, if you extrapolate that across the season, would only have scored 50. So the current lads aren't capable, I think, of getting us to that 60, 65 goal mark, even with Wilson fit. So you have to bring in more quality in those areas. That's what it is. It's not endeavour, because we've got that. It's not passion. The lads who here are great. We'll love them. But it's quality in that final third, and it's not cheap.
No, but Lee, I'll come to you with this one. From another one from JJ. How many fans do you think want tickets? As the 300,000 were only people that could apply. Sorry, I think it must be 30,000 there. I don't think it was 300,000. But the only people that could apply as they had tickets after 2019. He'd been going from 1970 to 2014, but couldn't apply. What's your thoughts, obviously, on the season ticket situation? And it obviously brings up the questions again about expanding the ground or moving to a new ground. What's your thoughts on that, Lee?
Nah, you cannot change the ground. Not. I'm one of them old romantics. St James's Park is our home. I think it's great for the club that they've got the demand back. I think Amanda Stadium, we had to be looking at that. I think, great, the demand's there. How can we then improve that? And there's obviously that it opens up a whole kind of worms. How do you extend the Gallagher, the listed buildings behind the East Stand, and so on? Do you rotate the stadium? Do you need a tunnel underneath to allow ambulances in and out the hospital? There's loads of the land next to that, and next to the metro. There's just loads of issues there. So the demand, I think it is going to be hard. I'm fortunate I've got a season ticket, but I'm still going to struggle. I like to get every away game. Even I'm going to struggle because now the points are starting off like 130, 100. I mean, I got Norwich, but that started off 120 last year. I think it was 120. That was just mental for Norwich City away, a side who were practically down, and Newcastle was safe by that stage. So even I'm going to struggle just for away games. So I think we're all in the same boat with that.
Alex, anything you can add on to that? Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting question from JJ, and yeah, like, I don't know about you lads, but I know someone. I think every fan, every current season ticket holder knows someone who doesn't have a season ticket but would take one if they could, and that doubles it. Because Newcastle got 35,000 season tickets holders at the minute. I go bigger than this. I think Newcastle could fill out a 90,000 seater stadium at the minute. I really do. I honestly do. If you think you can't buy them you can't buy them in person anymore. You can't buy them over the phone anymore. That does exclude quite a few people. But Man City, Man United are advertising tickets every single game on TalkSport. They're trying to sell the tickets. Newcastle don't need to advertise the tickets. Fans are like ready at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday morning in the working week, and there's 15,000 people online to get a Nottingham Forest ticket at 10 a.m. That's not, think about all the people who are at work who can't get online. Think about all the people who think, I'm not even going to bother because I don't have a spare hour to give up to try and get a ticket. We could sell out an 80,000 seater stadium, no problem at all. And I agree with you, Lee. I would love to say it's St James's Park, but I'm really passionate about getting all those people into the ground, and I don't want it to become what people who were around in the early 90s said it became, a bit of a closed shop where if you didn't have a season ticket, your chances of watching Newcastle live were very, very slim. And I think about all of us lads, and Lee, it'll be the same for you, and Richie being local growing up, going to St James's Park as a kid is really, really important in terms of how you connect with the club and how you grow up as a fan. And I don't want those kids to miss out on seeing this team, which is going to be a very successful team, and it'd be all us lads who have been there all our lives getting the opportunity. So it's a really complex debate, isn't it, to move ground? And I feel we are going to have to move ground to accommodate 30, 40,000 extra people, but it'll not happen anytime soon, if at all.
If I just put in what happens if I play a devil's advocate, and in 10 years' time we've got new owners who, not saying there's going to be a Mike Ashley, but doesn't put any money in the club, and then we're stuck with a 90,000 seater, and we can only fill half of it because maybe we're struggling, maybe we've been relegated or whatever. What happens then?
But I suppose every single club that moves to a new ground or expands has that same conundrum, don't they? And they all take the risk. They all take, Newcastle are going to go and play in the Stadium of Light. I mean, I don't know if you lads went across in 2013 when we played in the Europa League, but wow, what a football stadium that is. And Benfica did the right thing to move, didn't they? So I just think that first of all, I don't think we'll have new owners in 10 years' time. I think PAF are here, probably be here longer than any of us. Yeah, but it's you've got to plan for success. That's what the club used to not do. And I remember having a conversation with someone in the club where we played West Brom at home, end of 17-18. Rafa Benitez was in charge. West Brom had all been relegated, and tickets sold out instantly. and people in the club were saying, "Oh, we probably wouldn't sell more tickets and all this," like very negative, very kind of, "Oh, you careful what you wish for. We don't want to build a new ground and not sell all the tickets." Liverpool are expanding their ground now; they're not worrying about not selling the tickets. But Man United went to 74,000. They didn't worry about not selling the tickets because they planned for success. So I just think we've got to plan for the future and plan for a successful future.
I think the other thing as well, Alex, if you went back to say Arsenal fans or Man City fans, I get there's people are opposed to moving from St James's and where do you move the ground to and all that kind of stuff. But at some point, I think it is a reality that we will need to do something as a club if you want that continued growth. Because I think with more success, you need to grow, and the ground needs to do the same, and more and more fans will be attracted. And I'm sure City fans and Arsenal fans, when they spoke about leaving Highbury and leaving Main Road, didn't want to move, but they did. And you do still bring the heart of the club with you and the fans, because the fans are the heart of that club. Yes, it's nice to have it in the city, but I think for me as a fan, if it meant moving somewhere, but to accommodate, like you said, Alex, to get that extra 20 or 30,000 in, I think that's the right thing to do. For me, coming from Dublin, I have a membership this year. I don't have a season ticket. I gave it up when I moved back across to Dublin. So it's either getting a ticket if I'm lucky enough through membership once they're available, or as me, Richie, and the lads were talking about, we do something as a one-off and go hospitality, where we'll get a bit of grub and a pint and we'll get a game ticket. Or I'm relying on people in the chat, or mates, or Richie, or somebody else, or reaching out to you guys or to other people I know and saying, "Listen, I'm over this weekend. I'm flying in Friday, going home Sunday. Can you give us a ticket?" And that's just the way it is. If we had a bigger ground, I would happily pay the money for a season ticket and give it to somebody to use while I wasn't there to guarantee I had a ticket.
Martin, it's a really good point you're making. Obviously, it's personal to you because you have to make that journey. But I get contacted by people coming from Australia, coming from Malaysia. They're doing exactly what you're doing, Martin. They're coming without expectation of a ticket. They would love a ticket. They ask me if I can get a ticket. Try and help people where I can, but it's harder and harder these days to do so. But ultimately, the club is going to have to try and capture these worldwide fans and give them an opportunity. Because it's one thing to say, buy our shirt, buy our TV subscription, do all this kind of thing wherever you are in the world, support Newcastle United. But unlike Man City, Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal, who do provide experience for fans abroad, and it's very expensive, but they do provide opportunities for them to go and watch games. We don't do that at the minute because it's so hard to buy tickets that far in advance. And even now, hospitality packages are almost completely sold out before the season started. So the club, like you correctly said, the club wants to grow to that level. It is going to have to provide the facilities for its ever-expanding fan base to be involved in the football club, not just watch it from afar. That's going to be very important in the years to come.
Yeah, I think the other thing for me is I'd love. I know obviously we don't. We do have. Obviously the club's TV channel, but I'd love them to do, for overseas fans, I'd love them to do a full-on everyday home and away matches on a subscription, like you can get in the States. Like you can get them with American football. You can get a subscription where I know the New England Patriots do. Me and Richie are NFL fans, and you can buy a subscription that lets you watch every single game throughout the season. So as an overseas fan, I think that's something that. I know there's obviously broadcasting rights and other bits and pieces to take into account, but if there was something of that option, that again as an overseas fan is something I would buy, because at least I could say, well, I can watch every game, I can enjoy. Okay, it's sitting in my bar or sitting in front of my TV. It's not the same as being with Lee and meeting up in Burnley or meeting up somewhere else and having a couple of jars and then going to the game. But at least I can watch it. At the minute, I'm relying on a dodgy stream or, it being on Sky or being somewhere else. And I think there's a whole bigger picture that the club need to look at from an overseas fan perspective of the club. And I think there's a good chunk of work to be done on it, like you said.
Pete, did you have a top on that topic, didn't you?
Yeah, it was talking about, so, Alex, you made a point about, that we could fill out a 90-seater stadium. And you're right, I think we could, for the points that you made. And I think we talked about this on the Super Club Patreon show when we talked about capacity. What, in your opinion, and Lee, feel free to come in with this, what, in your opinion, would be an acceptable capacity of stadium if we were to move or be expanded at St James's Park? And the reason why I say that is because what's meant a lot to me seeing the second half of this season is, yes, we've been filling out 52,000, which I fully expected anyway, and we will continue to do, no doubt. But what I loved about our games at St James's Park, and I saw it firsthand, particularly in that Leicester game, is the cauldron that it creates. You could see the nervousness of the Leicester players that have experienced playing in Europe at the top level, but came to St James's Park in previous seasons and literally ran away with it, played at 50% and still won comfortably. Walked out and you walked out in that stadium and you could see the nerves. Leicester fans for 10-15 minutes barely even sung a song. They were nervous. All they did, and speaking to some that went to the game, were just taking photos and just looking at war flags and what they're put up. I worry about is getting a stadium that's too big, that on some occasions, some days, doesn't sell out completely, and we lose that cauldron. So I'll go back to the point, Alex, Lee, what capacity do you think would be acceptable but would keep that cauldron of fans and keep that nervousness and keep that fortress that we're trying to build?
One of the things that I think of when you're saying that there is these kind of conversations that we're having right now, people were having in 1999, 2000, when they were extending the ground, saying all of the exact same things. It's going to lose its atmosphere. It's not going to be a cauldron anymore. And yet you are talking about that extension being exactly that. So I'm not too worried about the size of stadium and losing that, because a lot of football clubs fans have those same discussions anytime there's change to their stadium, which they used to, and it's got set patterns of fans in various areas. I think if you had a bigger stadium, by the way, just imagine we had an 80,000 seater stadium. How many do you think Nottingham Forest would bring on the first day? We give them 10,000. They'd sell it. The atmosphere gets better because of that. So you are extending your ground for Newcastle fans, but I hate the fact that Newcastle only get 3,000 at Norwich, so it's 120 points. When we'll go to some games sometimes, and you get 3,000 seats, and the home end is only 3/4 full, and you're like, what's all this about? So, I think Newcastle can be the biggest football club in Britain. It'll take a long time because there's some established clubs there, but I believe in the club. So I think we have to go bigger than what's already there. And I'd look at Wembley's the biggest stadium in the United Kingdom at 90,000, and I'd love Newcastle to match that, because if Newcastle are going to be a Champions League title chasing side, I promise you we'll fill it. If we are chasing titles, we will fill it. There's tens of thousands of people out there who don't know the Newcastle fans yet across the country, and they'll help us fill it. And everyone who can't get in at the minute but wants to, they'll help us fill it too. So I'd go 90,000.
If we build it, they will come. Simple as.
And that's a motto. I've heard that somewhere before.
Me too, which is why I said it. Richard, did you say you had a quick follow-on before? I know Chris has got...
Yeah, it was just obviously what they were saying about the design of the ground and stuff like that. Now, obviously, Martin's already mentioned about the NFL and stuff like that. Now, the team I follow, the Seattle Seahawks, now, they're going on stadium design here now. Obviously, the major concern that a lot of fans have got is it won't have the atmosphere St James's Park has now. I think one of the things you have to do is you have to look at the design of the actual stadium as well. Like a lot of people have said, obviously, the West Ham and the Etihad as well. They were stadiums that have been adopted as a football ground. They were athletics grounds originally, so they've struggled to get the atmosphere. I think one of the key points would be is when they're actually designing the ground is take into consideration little things like the acoustics of the architecture in the actual stadium as well. So if you actually go and look at the Seattle Seahawks ground, Lumen Field, it's actually open on one end, but the two main stands are like crescents, but it's still the loudest stadium in the NFL. But the atmosphere there is second to none, which was one of the reasons why I fell in love with the Seahawks as a team, because there was so many similarities to the Newcastle fans and what the Seahawks fans were. So, that's, I think you can look to something like that as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be the biggest. I know, as Alex said, if you build 90,000, I can guarantee they'll come for 90,000 sort of thing. But I think you'd probably go at something where you might start at something like 70, 75. but have the ability to build on that, expand again as you go forward, sort of thing. So that was just a little point I want to do with that. I think it's not just about, you know, don't be scared about moving ground if that was something the owners decide to do. You know, well, I think, and obviously Alex has, you know, he knows how well the trust done in the past when they can give feedback to the club. Little things like that, the design of the architect, where they can take the acoustics into effect as well to keep that atmosphere feeling like it is for. So the visiting teams, as you know, Pete mentioned, you know, you look at the Everton game, you look at the Leicester game, you look at the Arsenal game, where the opposition team just, you know, fall to bits because of how good it is in that side of that ground.
I think you've also got to look at safe standing. The club are now looking at it, especially with the away fans, because we know at St James's Park you've got the Gallagher corner, and then the atmosphere has been a lot better since the takeover. I think that was naturally happening. Every single away game, Newcastle fans absolutely madness. Safe standing, I think, will help a lot. Not just Newcastle, I think it'll help other clubs as well. That core support, because naturally, if you're standing up, you sing more. Naturally, I don't sing as much as because I'm sitting. It changes park. I'm on my feet constantly in away games singing. So I think it's natural if you're standing, you will shout louder.
Yeah. There was one other question. I know we're getting close to the end of the show, but it was just one specifically for Alex. And it was from Nathan Davis. And he turned out and said, wonder what Alex's thoughts are on the NUST Council trying to encourage a boycott because of the pre-season ticket prices. That had to be mentioned, didn't it, Alex?
I don't have any thoughts, Nathan, mate. It's just a load of Twitter shite. That's how it came across to me. The NUST Council it doesn't exist anymore, I don't think. And even if it did, you know, if people don't like the price of the friendly tickets, it's a view I respect and understand. You know, like I'm lucky that I'm going to go to both friendlies. I'm going to see Newcastle twice in 24 hours because I can pay the 40 quid. But not everyone's like that. I don't think one guy tweeting that he thinks fans should boycott is more than just one guy tweeting something, and he's entitled to tweet it. And good luck to him. You know, no hard feelings from me. And yeah, just that's made me laugh. Cheers, lads.
No bother. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Daz, who he's usually on the show, but unfortunately he's not in tonight. He has been in the chat, so we're thinking of the Ben. Daz obviously had a little fall at nursery today, and we haven't got the exact ins now, but we hope he's all right. And he also wants to say thanks to Alex and Lee for joining the channel as well. A couple more donations to shout out. Shane Mawson, thank you very much, mate. For your donation, always appreciate it. We know you're always down under the early hours of the morning for you there. Roy, who won our Lascelles training top of the day, he's still paying for it by the super sticker there. Thank you very much, Roy. We hope you're getting that soon. And also Nathan as well, who's put a donation as well. I know, Chris, you've got one top question you wanted to fire in a while since we finished that little discussion. So I think we'll give you that as the last question before we do sponsors and round up.
Yeah, of course, mate. I won't keep it too long, but I was just very interested to get Alex and Lee's opinion on this, because I meant to bring it up the other day on the Fully Loaded Transfer Show, Pete, and I completely forgot to bring it up. We've seen in the last couple of days, which surprised me quite a bit, that Raheem Sterling's moved to Chelsea. Now, I know there was rumours, you know, we've been linked with Callum Hudson-Odoi. And by the way, I think that was Pete that kicked all that off. It was funny because Pete mentioned it. And next thing, you know, it's blown up, you know, on Twitter, national media and stuff like that. But I'd just be interested to hear your thoughts on whether you think, you know, there's an opportunity for us to possibly look at, you know, the likes of Ziyech, the likes of Pulisic. Because surely, for me anyway, I'm thinking that Chelsea, you know, we're going to have to offload at least one, if not two, of those players. And I just wondered if you thought that, you know, that was a player that, you know, well, one, you'd be interested in, or two, that you think we'd look at.
Yeah, I think that Eddie Howe's been really clear on the wage structure at Newcastle. And I think the lads you mentioned there would blow that wage structure. And when we're talking about getting Diaby, the reason you can talk about Diaby for 60 million is he's in the Bundesliga, where the average wage is 2 million a year less than the Premier League across all players. So you can bring in Bruno, and you could maybe bring in a Diaby or a Botman, and their wages are the same as Callum Wilson, or in the ballpark. If you take one of those lads from the Premier League, they're on 300 grand a week. You know, Sterling's on over 350 grand a week at Chelsea. We'll be there. We'll get there, but it's a bit early, it's my view, Chris, mate.
Yeah.
I would definitely. Yeah, sorry. I would definitely take a look. I've said it on my channel. Diaby's like into all competitions, league and cup. He got 17 goals for a winger. 17 goals for a winger in the Bundesliga and cup games. That's phenomenal. 14 assists. Go and get him. Because if he goes and has a good World Cup for France, his value is going to jump by 20 million quite easily. I would probably take one of those 3 on loan just to be on the safe side. So we want Lombard with a massive wage bill. Probably Hudson-Odoi, because I think he's still young. And if you want to go and buy him, I don't think he's on as high wages as the others. I know he was linked to Bayern Munich a couple of years ago, but I'd probably have him because the way I look at it is, who have you got off the bench who can change a game? We're still at this position now, and it'll come like Alex has said. But right now, Miguel Miro's not going to change a game. He's not. Jacob Murphy's not going to change a game from the wing. We need squad depth. I think, Callum Hudson-Odoi is more realistic. But go and get Diaby. Go and splash the cash. Go crazy for him.
Well, I just wanted to add on there really quickly that obviously I don't know if anyone's read today. I talked about positivity about Diaby, and then Luke Edwards comes out today and says, no, it's off. Not happening. Looking at other targets and just ruined my day. So thanks, Luke Edwards. It's not the first time.
Don't believe everything Luke says.
I don't get to see it because I'm blocked by him anyway. So,
and I just wanted to put that out there. So it could be done, potentially, could still happen. I believe it will. Staying slightly more positive, but that was just a little transfer update from our full loaded transfer show last night. I think we've got one last question.
Yeah, and then I'll ask it to all of you, and it's just literally a one-word answer, really, and it's from Dark Design, and it's heard. He said that he's heard that Ekiteke, Hugo Ekiteke, if anyone's unsure on that, wants to come now because PSG don't want him. Should we still go for him, Mart?
No.
Pete?
Nah.
Chris?
I'm going to be controversial and say yeah. I think if Eddie Howe wants him and he was the target of the club and, we've done our homework on him, if he comes back with his tail between his legs, all can be forgiven, in my opinion.
No, let's chase the one-word answer. Alex?
Sorry.
That's a yes from me.
And Lee?
100%.
There you go, 3-2. I'll tell you what, I'll say no to Stephen the Brooks up there, So.
On the fence loaded mag.
Yeah.
On the fence loaded mag.
Yeah, 3 no's.
Right, there you go, then, Pete.
No, it's been fantastic. Look, well, in terms of questions and chat, I'll leave it there. Fascinating chat. Lots and lots of really good questions about, Newcastle in general. Really, really good conversation about the stadium and how we see that going. Lots more we could have discussed. I'm sure we can get Lee and Alex back on at some point later on down the line to discuss it a little bit further.
Let's do it again.
Yeah, if you guys are up for it, 100% we'll try and sort that out. But massive thanks to yourself, Lee, for coming on. Second appearance for both yourself and Alex. Great to have you on the channel. Great to have your opinions. Look, if you've read the chat tonight from 360, 370 that have been watching live for the majority of the hour, they massively appreciate what you do individually, Lee and Alex, both on Newcastle Fans TV and True Faith. So keep up the great work, and like I say, it's great to be able to sort of collab with yourselves as loaded and talk Newcastle with you. It's definitely been a positive vibes type of show tonight, and I'm all for that. That is for sure.
Thanks for having us, Pete, and look forward to your bear hugs when I see you in the stadium.
Definitely. Hey, as long as those goals keep flying in, those bear hugs are coming. Don't worry about that.
Let's hope we've not got no late people tuning in, and that you two boys have a safe word. So.
I'll be honest. Chris knows because we've experienced it as well. I'm worse with the people that I don't know. They don't know who I am and all the rest of it, but that's the beauty of Newcastle. I could just go to a game on my own and meet 2 or 3 new people and celebrate with them like I've known them for 10 years. That's the beauty of going to watch Newcastle United, and I'm all here for that. But look, we'll end it there. We'll go to the sponsors, the fantastic sponsors, Richie, and then we'll see out the show.
Yeah, no bother. So once again, everyone knows our charity partner, Shyburn. Simon's been in the chat tonight, shyburns.com. His range of clothes and caps for any mental health charities. And obviously, we all know Martin and myself have suffered from issues ourselves with that as well. So it's something that's really close to our heart on that. And also, he's designed the loaded T-shirt. I don't think any of the lads are wearing it tonight. But as you can see, there's a multi-range of colours there you can choose from there. So if you like them... Oh, Pete, Pete's actually holding his up again tonight. He'll actually wear it one day, but there you go, Pete.
All right.
That'll be doing the rounds in Turkey in 10 days' time, mate.
Yeah.
It is. There we go.
You know what? I'll come back with them in bulk.
You can see Pete walking down the street with that somewhere in Turkey, and someone going, "Ah, my friend, it's Dave."
You know it'll happen, Mark. You know it'll happen.
I know it'll happen, mate. I know it exactly.
We've got on to pins and prints next. Dean has got his fantastic range of any football prints really you can get from any club, but of course we're more concerned about the NUFC ones. You've got Eddie Howe's Army, Kieran Trippier, the old retro shirts, 95-96 one. You've got your Shearer prints, and also you've got some iconic Newcastle goals. And this is the Bruno one against Southampton last year as well. As I said, the limited edition pin badge as well, which has got the hat and Ben Arthur. There's also Jonas Gutierrez one on the website as well. We also got retro NUFC. You'll see that they're all over Twitter. He's got a new drop coming in tomorrow. He's put some really, really nice teas and photographs on Twitter. So I don't know if you've seen them on the rounds there, but there's some nice stuff on there. He's also got a market. He's going to be at Tynemouth Market on the Saturday morning of the Atletico Bilbao game. So if you want to go along to the market for on the morning, see if you can pick yourself up a nice retro shirt before going to the game, by all means, go along and have a look. Those three sponsors, you do get, if you actually buy anything there, if you go to the checkout and you add Loaded Mag in the discount code, you will get 10% off your purchase. That is for everybody, not just if you remember. And also our newest sponsor, Machine House, Newcastle-based brand, quality clothing company with T-shirts. They've got hoodies in there. Martin's sometimes in the chat. I don't know if he's been in tonight. I don't know if anyone else has seen him in there, but there's some fantastic range there. It's good to have them on board. Also, if you get onto their mailing list and you sign up, you will get 10% off your first purchase there as well.
Yeah,
there you go.
The hoodies and I think the white T-shirts back in stock. He'd probably correct me now if I'm wrong, but I know he was stocking up yesterday with a few bits. So yeah, as Rich said, if you get on, there's a 10% discount as soon as you hit the checkout once you're on the mailing list. So get onto it.
There you go. Over to you, Pete.
No, it's been a pleasure. Absolute pleasure. We are back again tomorrow night. We're back for more as always, and we've got for the transfer special a pre-season roundup with Liam Kennedy and our very own Jordan Cronin after the game against 1860 Munich. So they'll give us the lowdown and that perspective of being at the game and talk all things pre-season and what to expect maybe in the next game against Mainz. So really looking forward to that. 8 o'clock, that show will go live. And again, we've got the Goodfellas. The Goodfellas gurus are back. We've got the Geordie Dentist and Stu Penman going to be talking all things Newcastle United and maybe some things that are not Newcastle United.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, that's why I said it, Richard. So we will see with regards to that. But look, boys, we'll leave it there. Lee, massive thanks. Alex had to shoot a recording that he needs to do. It's been a great one. Thank you for everyone in the chat, and we will speak to you again very soon. Very soon, exactly. Yeah. Do we want to do Eddie Howe?
Yeah, I'll click the button.
Go on. Right. Someone click the button. I'm not doing it now.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Right. See you tomorrow.
Oh.